Ruslan.
Do a couple questions on this whole Kevin Samuels thing. And by the way, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just operating with the best he's trying to offer. And I think he's also being entertaining, which I think a lot of folks don't factor that. The question is, what about the men in the Old Testament, multiple wives and concubines? They even list all the wives and side chicks, all the kids and genealogies. And this is a great question. So this is what you have to understand. When scripture is being descriptive, okay? When scripture is being descriptive, that doesn't mean it's being prescriptive. This is what I mean. If I'm sitting here, and this is bad analogy, but if I'm sitting here and I'm giving you advice, but I'm drinking yerba mate, right? Just because I'm drinking yerba mate and I acknowledge yerba mate, I'm not saying that in order to do A, B, and C, you also need to drink this yerba mate or that you should drink yerba mate. This is just what I'm doing right now. For some people, yerba mate is great. It gives me a lot of energy. It gives me a lot of focus. For others, hey, it's 6:44 at night. It's a little too late for caffeine and yerba mate. You probably shouldn't drink this yerba mate. And so this is descriptive. This is descriptive. I'm describing something that's in this frame, right? But I'm prescribing ideas and truth to you that you should go out and live out. There's stuff all over scripture, fam, that's prescriptive, that's you should do this. You should do this. You should follow Jesus. You should surrender your life to Jesus. It's in your best interest. I promise you, God's ways are better than your ways. I promise you that God's wisdom is better than your wisdom. I promise you that God's ways is better than the ways of the world. Okay? I promise you that I'm prescribing something to you. I'm speaking in absolute terms. What you see in scripture where there's something is descriptive, it's describing something that happened. There's all kinds of stuff that described in scripture that aren't prescribing for all of humanity. There's actual covenants with the children of Israel, God's people, that are prescribing something for them in the moment, but we read it back and we go, that's descriptive. So when it comes to concubines, multiple wives, that is not God's heart. God is not describing that. If you want to know God's heart, go look at the original story. What was it? It was Adam and Eve, one woman, one wife. The further you get east of Eden, man starts adjusting God's ways and starts incorporating his own ways into God's ways. The further east of Eden we get, the more you see this happening in scripture. And it trips up a lot of people. And this keeps a lot of folks from coming to Jesus, coming to God. It says that we know right from wrong in our heart, according to Romans 1, that the law is written, that we have an understanding. And so if you're reading passages, you always got to stop and say, hey, is this prescriptive? Is this prescribing truth in an absolute statement in the ways of God? Or is this describing something that happened? When it describes that David slept with Bathsheba and then killed Uriah, that's not a prescriptive message that kings can just take whoever they want. That's not what that is. He was wrong in that. He committed adultery. He then murdered somebody. It was wrong. Solomon had concubines. Solomon had all these men. How did that end for him? Did he end in a thriving relationship with God? No. He lost himself. He was like, this is terrible. What is the meaning of life? It's all vanity. I know it's a subtle thing, and this trips up a lot of folks because they approach scripture and they're reading everything that's describing something as prescribing something. It's so subtle, but don't miss it. Don't miss it, because God's heart isn't for, just because you see something in scripture, that doesn't mean it has God's heart for everybody throughout all time. Yeah, prescriptive versus descriptive scripture. The concubines thing is hilarious, because that's like every dude's like, yeah, there's concubines in the Bible. Yeah, and look how them stories played out for the concubines. for the dudes with the concubines. Dating is hard. Western men are told not to settle down until 35. Yeah, this is trash. See, this is what I'm saying. This is a culture issues. A lot of men are waiting until they're 25. What do us women in the danger zone do? Well, first of all, I'm not in that game, okay? So let's just be clear. Your boy's been married 13 years. I have no idea what it's like to date at in this context, in this time. I'm just being fully transparent with you. So one, I'll just humbly answer, I don't know. My question will go back to, quite simply, hey, are you becoming the type of person you want to attract? And to Kevin Samuels' point, are you what you're looking for in a man? And so if you are, and you are doing the things that you want to become, and you are, and this is men and women, by the way, this isn't either or. How is your network of people? How is your relationships? Are you in a local church? Are you connected with people? Is there relationships, right? A lot of times who you meet when you're older is gonna be through your network of friends. Like, it's not gonna be on some dating app, you know what I mean? I mean, it could be, but it's usually gonna be through your network of friends, through somebody knows. Even if it's social media, you know somebody that knows somebody. So I would just say foundationally, let's just be sober and let's just say, are you becoming the type of person that you want in a mate? Character-wise first, inside out, your heart, your character, your integrity, your personality, your temperament, right? If you have trauma from your childhood, are you going to therapy? All these different things, right? Are you becoming that type of person? One, and then two, yeah, let's talk about the external. And I don't mean to be vain, but let's talk about the external. Are you doing the best with what God has given you? Are you taking care of your body? Are you combing your hair? I don't know, right? There's a lot of dudes out here that like want this bad chick and I want this 10. And it's like, fam, you aren't a high value man, nor are you taking care of yourself. And so that would be my next thing is like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of your body? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? So on and so forth. And let's just be honest, like those two things alone, majority of people aren't becoming who they want in a mate. Let's just keep it a buck. And internally. And the second, majority of folks ain't taking care of themselves out here. Obesity is at an all-time high. People are overweight. People eat terribly. So if you're single, you want to be with someone, that starts from the inside out. Your heart, the desires of your heart, are you being conformed to the type of person you want to be? And then how's that playing out? How's that playing out in your practical thing? It's no different than anything else you want in life. I'll give you an example. And I don't mean to equate this to money. So forgive me if that's what I'm not trying to make this transactional, right? But I am a late bloomer, okay? In every sense of the word. I didn't figure out my career path till later on in life, 30s, right? Didn't start getting in shape, really good in shape until 30s, and so on and so forth. And so I didn't start on retirement in my 20s. Some of you guys did. I was in debt. I was busy making stupid decisions. So now I'm in a spot where I'm 36 and I want to buy a home. And a lot of my friends who are younger than me have already bought homes. So here I am, I'm 36. I would like to buy a home. I live in Southern California. I live in San Diego, okay? So I don't just want to buy a home. I want to buy a home and pay it off in the foreseeable future. I don't believe in being in debt indefinitely for the rest of my life. That's just me. So I go, okay, I need to buy a home. I want to pay it off. I need $1 million. And you guys are like, Ruslan, you're crazy. Okay, just hear me out. I need $1 million. Okay, first of all, just me coming to a place to speak that out loud required a mentality shift in my mind and required me viewing my situation different to just speak that out. Okay, I need $1 million. I need $1 million within the next 5 to 10 years. So now I can say it, and I can only say it because I believe it. And I believe it because I have faith that I'm becoming the type of person, the type of character, the type of person that can actually put the work ethic together to go and earn $1 million extra on top of my living expenses, because my living expenses are nothing. Remember, I'm out of debt. There is no debt. And so now my mentality is shifted. My character and my heart is different because it's really not about the number amount. It's about owning my shelter, which is all a home is your shelter, right? And minimizing my income, not living a flamboyant lifestyle, living a quiet lifestyle. So my heart's in the right place. I know that much. And so now, guess what? Now that my mentality, I have to then adjust my behavior and develop a plan around what is the input I'm going to give to the marketplace, whether it's YouTube, whether it's music, whether it's merchandising, whether it's courses, whether it's tours, whether it's shows, whether it's whatever. I now have to put the input into the equation and believe that God is ultimately going to produce the output. God's ultimately got to do it, right? We just had our first course launch. It was incredible. We had 100 folks that bought our course. Amazing. First one, incredible, right? God had to do that. I did everything I was supposed to do. I had the plan. I worked hard. We developed the course. We shot it. We did as much value. We did the beta test, but God ultimately had to provide that, right? And so I'm putting in the effort. I'm responsible for what I can do. God ultimately has to produce. right? So I have to go out and sow the seed and work the land, but God ultimately has to send the rain and make it grow. And so this mentality, I believe, is applicable to anything. And the caveat is, I still got to be dependent on God's time. I still got to have flexibility and margin built in. I still have to be ready for an economic downturn. I still have to have contingency plans. It may take me 15 years. I'm hoping it takes me 5 or less, but it may take me 15 years. I'm down for whatever, by the way. I'm really okay with whatever, but I first started with the mentality shift, the character, the heart, the plan, the work ethic, the input, 7 figures. That sounds nuts. Think about, like, that sounds insane to say out loud. I need 7 figures. I need 7 figures. And I think for some of you guys that maybe it's a similar thing. Maybe in your 30s, maybe you are further along in the process and you're just like, oh, I really want to get married. I really want to have kids. And I would say it's a similar process. Where's your heart? Where's your integrity? Where's your character? What changes need to happen here in order for your mind to first believe that this is even possible for you? And then what do you need to do? How does the input need to change? How does the input need to change to what you're doing? And respect, some of you guys moved to Texas because you wanted a house for $300,000. Respect, I'm not moving to Texas. It's simple, but it's not. Like, it's simple, but it's hard. And it's what you believe about yourself and what you believe about the world is going to determine how you behave. So if you believe that, oh, it's just, I'm in Southern California, no one buys a house in Southern California. It's impossible. $1 million house, it's impossible. Okay, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the same way, hey, I really believe God is calling me to be married. I feel like God's calling me to be a wife. God's calling me to be a husband. Okay, now how do we reverse engineer that? Are you becoming the type of person that someone who wants a spouse is looking for? And then, are you taking care of yourself physically, across the board? What's the input you're doing? A lot of this just starts with our mentality and our thinking about whatever thing. You want to conquer an addiction. It's the same thing. Some of you guys are watching this. You're watching this right now, and you don't believe that you will ever be free of that stronghold over your life. It's a mentality thing. And so you need to shift your mentality. You need to shift your mentality. And there's different pathways to that, right? There's different pathways to that. Some of y'all need to meditate on scripture. Some of y'all need affirmations. Some of y'all need to go get the elders to lay hands and pray for you. Get some deliverance. So, right, there's multiple pathways for how you go from changing your mind to believe that the deliverance is possible for you, or the freedom is possible for you, or that thing, whatever, career advancements, flourishing, right? But it starts with your mentality. What you believe will determine how you behave. If you believe that you're not worthy of a spouse, if you believe you're not worthy of progressing in your career, if you believe you're not worthy in your marriage getting restored, if you believe these things, right? And if you're doing your part, you can't control other people. I can't control the economy, or if inflation comes. I can't control that. I can only control what I can control. And hey, I'm going to believe, and maybe it takes a year, maybe it takes 5 years, maybe it takes 10 years, maybe it takes 15 years. But what I'm not going to do is just be like, well, I should have started sooner. I didn't start on my 401k when my buddies did, who have $250,000 sitting there in our Roth accounts. I didn't start when I was in my 20s. Well, I guess it's just right. Don't do that. Don't do that about your future spouse. Don't do that to your future career. Don't do that to how God may want you to flourish. Don't do that with the church he may want you to be in. Don't do that. Don't do that. You've already played yourself. And healing is possible, by the way. Restoration is possible.
King's Dream Entertainment. Ruslan.
I saw my mama smile through the silhouette. Sunshine and all, sunshine and all. But she don't know that I still feel like we ain't made it yet. No, I ain't.